What's going on, my bud smokers and movie lovers, and welcome to another episode of 5 on It, a show where we do two things: smoke doobies and review movies. We are your hosts. I'm Francisco. He is Sir Frazier, and on today's episode, we are reviewing a Jim Carrey classic, a 1994 banger, a movie that I would say put him on the map, because after this movie, he went on a run of a lifetime.
Facts.
We are talking Ace Ventura, Pet Detectives.
Yes! Yes! Oh, yeah! Can you feel that, buddy? Huh?
But before we dive into the weeds on that, don't forget to like, subscribe, share with all your other bud smokers and movie lovers out there. But Sir Frazier, what are you smoking on?
Man, so we back at it again with the Toking Bunts. We got a little bit of the Acapulco Gold, some of that sativa. But yeah, it's I keep going back to this. I mean, we've gone back to these to this seller for multiple times now, because their stuff is usually really good quality and it burns smooth. Not like for those who are used to the swishers and stuff like that. Those kind of papers, it's not too bad.
Yeah, dude. Like, one of the biggest pet peeves I think any smoker will have is when you get a joint or a blunt or whatever, and it starts to run. And everybody has their own little tactics on how to stop a run and all that type of shit. But honestly, it's 50-50. Like, every time I see a run happen, sometimes it works to, you can catch it early enough and you can kind of make it even again. But sometimes when you get a run, it's just going to fucking run. And you just got to just let it roll, man.
Yeah, these ones, I do notice the papers tend to burn a bit more evenly, which is really nice. But yeah, that's what we're smoking on today. They have 2.5 gram blunts, and yeah, we've been satisfied. I've definitely been satisfied every time I've bought their stuff. But that said, man,
reliable.
Reliable. But that said, let's dive into the movie. So, for those of you who haven't seen this, this movie is the summary for this movie is when the Dolphin mascot of Miami's NFL team is abducted, Ace Ventura, played by Jim Carrey, a zany private investigator who specializes in finding missing animals, looks into the case. So just some background as well for this movie. This was directed by Tom Shadyac? Shadyac?
Yeah, something like that.
I'm not sure. I feel like I am butchering that name.
But yeah.
But yeah, as mentioned, it stars Jim Carrey. Also, Tom Loke, which is funny to think about. At this time, where we were in 94, he was actually the biggest name, I think, attached to this movie, which is kind of funny to think about.
Really? Oh, yeah, because Jim Carrey's kind of like an unknown.
He was still really, he was mostly well known for In Living Color, which was, a great ensemble class. It was like the black SNL, more or less, in a lot of ways. Led, at the helm by Keenan Ivory Wayans, his brother Damon, Jim Carrey, Dalen Alan Greer, Jamie Foxx. The list of talent for that show is incredible. This movie also stars Courtney Cox and, of course, Sean Young.
This was like around the time when Friends was kind of getting going, because it just said Friends started around 94 too. So Courtney Cox isn't like, obviously everybody knows her now and everything, but when this movie came out, she wasn't, the heavy hitter as she is.
No, definitely not. She hadn't even been in Scream yet, because Scream was 96?
No.
97?
Scream came in 96, yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, honestly, this movie kind of catapulted, Friends obviously helped catapult Courtney Cox's career, but this movie helped Jim Carrey's career, and it helped Courtney Cox's career as well. Wonder what it did for record sales with Tom Loke.
Oh, man, right, though. He actually did a song on there at the end of the credits.
Yeah.
There's a song, I did not listen to that. I'm going to hold you, but...
I don't think this movie warrants soundtrack.
Facts.
I don't know how many times. I was kind of surprised when I was actually looking up this movie, and I was like, it actually has a soundtrack?
Yeah.
Even when the credits came on and I heard Jim Carrey being like, I forgot what the fuck he said, but whatever he says on the end credits, like, play that funky tune or whatever the fuck it is. I was like, whoa. I think this is the end of the movie. I think it's time to turn this off.
Time to move on. But yeah, man, what's funny? This movie came out in 1994, and the year 1994 has surfaced a bit in our conversations. We recently reviewed Shawshank Redemption, and just focusing on 1994 in the context of Jim Carrey. This damn near was the year of Carrey. He dropped Ace Ventura, The Mask, and Dumb and Dumber all in the same year.
Yeah.
He then Bam 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 Bam. I think all of those movies were successes at the box office. He then follows that up in 95 with Batman Forever and When Nature Calls. Both of those movies killed it at the box office.
And say what you want about Batman Forever. I mean, Grant is not going to be in the same limelight as obviously The Dark Knight or even the Batman with Robert Pattinson recently. Right. But it's a fun, honestly, movie just to go back into and enjoy with, like, you know, obviously if you're puffing on a little grass and whatnot. It's a fun movie seeing Jim Carrey as the Riddler and seeing Tommy Lee Jones, something that's totally out of his realm, as Harvey Dent, Two-Face.
Yeah, no, that movie, I remember seeing it in the theater. Nicole Kidman, Val Kilmer, Chris O'Donnell.
Uh-oh.
My lungs, Paul. Oh, man. But yeah, it's funny also to think about, the casting for this. There were a few different actors considered for this. Some of them were really surprising. Rick Moranis, people who know from Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. Judd Nelson, which was a real shocker to me. Also, probably best known not only for New Jack City, which we reviewed, but namely The Breakfast Club. Whoopi Goldberg.
Yeah, I was like, they almost decided to go female, and which, hey, I don't give a shit. Ace Ventura has no fucking connection with me,
bro.
But if you want to go Whoopi Goldberg.
Yes, completely. I mean, all these names are very different.
Especially if you're going like this type of zany, wacky type of dude.
Yeah,
like,
a very physical kind of comedy.
I like Whoopi Goldberg as like someone like her, I would say maybe offbeat type of movies where there's like Eddie. Was it that?
When she coaches the Knicks.
Yeah. Like,
Bring her back.
I enjoyed that. But I don't see her as like an Ace Ventura. A David Allen Greer.
Oh yeah,
I could see maybe that.
Another In Living Color alum. Also, something I definitely want to point out: Jim Carrey was working on the script while he was a member of In Living Color, so he was still performing and shooting when he was working on this script. But yeah, man, it's like very, very interesting kind of history. I mean, obviously, this movie launched a really successful franchise with 2 movies, the animated series. There was I think there was another show that was tied to Ace Ventura. I don't know if it was like a Kid Ace Ventura or something, but yeah, we don't really
tried like
talk about that.
It's like more recently, maybe not like obviously not super recently, but they did try to do a younger Ace Ventura. Mm-hmm. And when you're kind of scrolling, whether it's on Netflix or whatever, if you leave it on like the thumbnail for a little bit, he'll play like a preview. And so I left it on the thumbnail of the younger version just to see what it was like. And after like the first minute or so, I was like, yeah, I can see why this didn't quite work out. The character of Ace Ventura is a funny dude. If you can find like the right actor, which for this movie they found the perfect actor to play him to bring him to life, then maybe you have something like that. But honestly, going back and rewatching it now, I mean, maybe that character has it's had his run, and I'm not sure if you can. I'm not saying like the jokes. Maybe obviously if the writing is done well, anything can probably be done. But I don't know. It's just this movie. Just thinking about like the 3 hitters, that The Mask, Dumb and Dumber, Ace Ventura. This might come in third for me.
The Mask, Dumb and Dumber, and Ace Ventura. What's your number 1?
Probably Dumb and Dumber. But I really like The Mask because I remember just watching that so often as a kid. I still really enjoy the movie. I went as The Mask. That's like a Halloween costume. I want to say like in 2nd or 3rd grade or some shit. Mm-hmm. And Cameron Diaz in that movie to me is like top 5 baddest woman on screen like ever. Like just in any single movie. Yeah. Like man.
Crazy.
Jesus Louise.
Crazy.
But I think it would go Dumb and Dumber, Mask, Ace Ventura.
Yeah, I'm with you on Dumb and Dumber. I think I probably would put Ace Ventura at the bottom of that. I mean, one of my favorite movies of his, I love The Truman Show, man. I love him in dramatic roles. I think he was great in, of course, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. But
Liar,
as far
Liar.
as his...
Classic.
Yeah, Liar. But as far as like his comedies, Cable Guy was a good one. That was really good.
I don't think Cable Guy gets enough credit, man. I think because it's so dark. It's so different.
Yeah, it
Wasn't
is dark.
expecting it.
It is darker. But yeah, man, he was on a hell of a run in the mid to late '90s, even into the early 2000s. I mean, he's still killing it right now. I haven't seen the Sonic the Hedgehog movies, but I know he's doing his thing in those as the villain.
I've seen like 1.5. I saw the first one. It was definitely enjoyable.
Yeah.
The second one I made it like halfway through before the indica got me. It had me under its spell.
It does that.
It took me to the sunken place. But I want to say like obviously they're making a third one right now. I don't think he's going to be in the third one, but it was well received to get this far. So yeah. He's been doing his thing since Ace Ventura. He had a few movies before Ace Ventura really came on, but as soon as this movie got released, he just went on a run.
Yeah, he went on a big run. But yeah, I mean, just thinking about diving into this movie, I mean, we're introduced to him in a really funny way where we see this UPS kind of delivery guy who doesn't give a fuck about his job, kicking this box, throwing it like when he's on the elevator and the door is closing and he doesn't realize it, and then he takes it out and then he punts the the box over to the customer, the quote unquote customer's door.
We're going downtown.
And we learn like he's actually there to retrieve a dog that was taken by a bitter ex kind of situation. And when he gets into the car and the dudes just starts taking the bat to his whip.
Dude, that's where he's like, I think we'll go now.
You want to give me a push while you're back there, pal?
Alrighty then.
It's alive! It's alive!
I don't know why, but like the opening scene just gave me Dumb and Dumber vibes. I don't know why. Maybe it's just like the character just kicking the fucking box around and seeing like how Dumb and Dumber opens with like the vehicle and driving around and shit, not giving a fuck.
Oh yeah,
maybe it's just like that type of
ketchup and mustard.
Oh my god, yeah. And then when he goes back to check on the dogs.
Oh
dude.
Man, what a schmuck! And to think that you would pay that much to do that to your own car. Mm-hmm. Man. Anyways, we're getting the weeds.
Honestly, this movie is very, very simple with the plot.
Yeah.
After you see kind of like you meet Ace Ventura, what he's about animals, and he ended up saving the dog, and he gave the dog back to the person. And
she basically proceeds to blow him for payment.
Yeah, he's that's what they're insinuating. But then they cut over to the Miami Dolphins, and their mascot, ended up getting stolen.
Snowflake.
And instead of leaving it to the cops, they hear about through their secretary of a pet detective, and that he really does his job really well, and he comes highly recommended. So they end up hiring the pet detective, Ace Ventura, to try to retrieve Snowflake. And after that, I guess you will say hilarity ensues.
Yeah, we're pretty much off and running. It's funny too. Like one of the scenes at the very beginning when he returns to his apartment after he saved the dog, and his landlord, he's like, Ventura. Yes, Satan.
Dude,
I'm sorry. I thought you were someone else.
I'm looking up who that guy is real quick.
He was in Breaking Bad.
Yeah, exactly.
He definitely has a villain look.
Mark Margolis.
Yeah.
I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that name.
He was actually in Your Honor as well, with the lead actor from Breaking Bad, Bryan Cranston. Yeah, he was in Your Honor as well.
He's a good actor. Every time I see him,
yeah, he's very menacing.
Yeah, he's got that look. I mean, he's definitely in a very small role into this movie. But when you see him, especially when you've seen Breaking Bad, you're kind of like, oh, you're doing the Leonardo DiCaprio gif.
Here's a thought. If they ever do a live action Simpsons, I could see him playing Mo.
Ooh.
Can you see it?
Yeah, I could.
Especially if he dyed his hair. I mean, he's a little bit older, so that's kind of tough. But
man, I don't think we'll ever see a live action Simpsons.
I know. I'm just saying, like that would be I have that.
Because like, would you make the characters yellow or you just leave them white?
How weird are we going? Like Tim Burton weird, or are we just gonna try? I mean,
where are we honestly going? I think if it's live action, like real, I think you just probably just leave them white.
Yeah, that's what I would think so too.
But I mean, if you get kind of like, I guess more anime. I mean, it's that when people say live action, like the Lion King, if you a little bit more realistic animation, it's not live action, more a little bit more realistic animation, then I guess you could probably leave them yellow. But that's getting deep into the weeds right now.
We're here.
But honestly, I don't want to like drift into like any sort of negatives or anything like that. But just thinking about the movie, rewatching this, it didn't quite hit as hard as with the comedy as I was like expecting it to.
I agree. What scenes in particular?
I don't know. I don't know if like
that came to mind.
I don't know any scenes in particular that like where I was like, oh, I remember this being really funny and it just didn't land. I remember it just being kind of like I'm watching it the whole movie with more of a just like a smirk. Just I'm enjoying the movie, but I'm not like really busting up laughing as I would, let's say, like even like a Step Brother, Talladega Nights more recently, or even This Is the End. One scene, I don't know, this one got me though, when he goes and he checks on Snowflake and he's got the fish and everything, and the fucking shark comes out.
Snowflake. Here, Snowflake. I've got a little snack for you.
Dude, but then after he comes out of the fucking the little pool, whatever, and he's just like, "That's not Snowflake. That's not Snowflake."
Yeah, no shit. No shit, dude.
That part gets me, man. But as a whole, there wasn't like a scene in particular where I was like, this used to hit, but it just didn't hit as hard. Or, I mean, it just didn't hit. Yeah, I guess I said that right. But just the whole movie where I thought maybe I was going to, I guess maybe even like the plunger scene or when they finds out Finkel.
Yeah, that was over it. That was over the top.
Like, I remember that scene maybe being funnier than what I thought it was. Like, I still like kind of chuckled at it. Yeah. But I was just like,
I found it more funny where he's watching Einhorn at the scene right after that, and he's like chewing all that fucking big red gum. Yeah. He's like, "Your gun is digging into my hip," you know? Like he's just he's like shaking it off like that. I thought that was actually a funny scene, but the one before that with the plunger, he burns his clothing. Yeah, it was a little. I mean, they deliberately were going for like a very very like over the top homophobic response.
Yeah,
like he spoke to that.
But oh my god, another scene that did kind of get me. Those only maybe a couple scenes that really made me actually like bust out, like the snowflake one I just mentioned. But then I guess this one does get me every time is when he's revealing Finkel as Einhorn, and he's the rule of three. He does the rule of three, but then after that he's kind of like, oh shit, I guess I was wrong. And then Marino's like, hey Ace, over here. And he's looking at Einhorn at a different angle than everybody else.
All those police were behind them as well.
Yeah, nobody you see saw that, and you're like, what the fuck is that? But then you're like, well, either this is if Finkel or if Einhorn is a woman, then she's got a serious case of hemorrhoids. And he turns her around and notices she's doing the old tuck method.
Roger Predactor found Mr. Winky or Captain Winky. I was like, oh god.
And I mean that part definitely makes me crack up. But then obviously you see everybody else's like over the top reaction and everything.
Yeah, everybody's scratching their tongues. It's like spitting. Yeah, it's a lot.
Quick though, I mean, obviously it's not a man playing a woman. That is like a woman. That's Sean Young playing Lois Einhorn. Yep. And for what it's worth, She does look pretty good in the
Yeah,
movie.
I mean, a lot of people might know her best for Blade Runner. That was a huge movie that she was a part of. She plays one of the, I think she's a synthetic in that movie, if I remember.
Probably.
But yeah, I think one of the, a scene that was a little over top for me is when they actually go to the asylum and he's looking for the files on Finkel.
Yeah.
So Finkel was the disgraced field goal kicker for the Miami Dolphins who cost them a championship ring. But he did, however, get himself a division championship ring. Mm-hmm. That is a significant part of the storyline because one of the things that Ace discovers when he is searching the empty tank after Snowflake's has been abducted is he finds the orange jewel, the orange rock from the ring, but he later learns to be an actual one of the division championship ring.
No, it's from the AFC Championship game.
Yeah, it was the AFC, but not the Super Bowl.
No, not the Super Bowl.
It was the
AFC Championship game.
There we go.
But like
That's what it's called.
Well, and Ace is like pretty much going down like he has like the team photo, and he's marking people off because he's checking rings, but.
That montage is actually great. Where
it's pretty good.
It's pretty. That's good. Probably one of the best. That's a highlight for me, by the way.
Yeah, the chloroform.
The chloroform where he fucking is like gets punched in the head, is like counting the rocks and the fucking when he towels the guy, or when he's in the urinal and he's like looking over the urinal to the guy beside him he got one of those rings. That whole scene is just so ridiculous.
Dude, then the one dude was actually into it.
Yeah, he was really into it. Yeah.
That shit was funny.
Ace was like, I gotta get.
When him and Melissa, Courtney Coster's character, they're going through like I forget what they're doing. They're going through some shit, and Ace asks her like, "Why isn't Finkel in this photo though?" And she's like, "Oh, he was added to the team midway through the season, and so but he still got a championship ring, and so I mean he still did get a ring though.
He did.
He was just added midway through, which I thought, I mean, this you're not going to get great extraordinary writing out of this story or out of this movie or anything. But I thought that was a nice touch to the writing department.
Yeah, because it's a revenge story. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, but it's actually, I mean, it's accurate too. I mean, that happens in sports.
Yeah,
players get added midway through the season. Mm-hmm. They still end up getting the ring if they end up winning or something. Mm-hmm. So I thought that was just a little, that was like proper. To add to the writing.
Well, yeah, and I think Ray Finkel becomes this disgraced kicker, and he kind of has a mental breakdown, and Ace ends up going and visiting his childhood home, and oh my god, like there's first of all when he walks up to the Finkel house, it's just like spray painted with like slurs and just like anti Ray Finkel just graffiti. The dad answers the door with a fucking double barrel shotgun pointed at Ace.
I'm gonna need another pair of shorts.
And when the mom comes out, he's here to see our son, and they're like yanking the gun as Ace is like trying to avoid it. The whole scene was fucked from the jump. That was definitely like a funny ass scene. I remember like laughing.
That was funny because then obviously you figure out why he went insane.
Yeah.
Because obviously when
The
you're in sports,
laces
especially if you're a
weren't
kicker, yeah, you have a routine. And if anybody's like a high level athlete, you hear about their routine and everything. And so you hear about the laces were out. He likes when he kicks the ball to be the laces out. And on that game winning kick, the laces were in. And you see the montage. Yeah, you find out why he went crazy and everything like that. And at the end, when you see Einhorn and Finkel, whatever you want to call them, and Marino, they're having their little interaction. She even sets up a ball and kicks it with the laces out, just to almost like prove, like, see, motherfucker, I still can. I can kick the rock. But you mentioned the asylum scene. Mm-hmm. Man, when he breaks away, or when Courtney Cox and the doctor kind of walks off because he ends up slamming his fucking head against the bench. Yeah. Which that's like when I brought up Bullet Train, like Bad Bunny hitting his head against the table. I was like,
look real.
Did he fucking actually do that? Because it looked. I mean, it's movie magic, whatnot, but god damn, that looked like a real stunt Jim Carrey did, and he's a very physical actor. Yep. But when he breaks into the little back room to find the files on Ray Finkel, the box is literally like right there.
Yeah.
Like as soon
this
as
person hasn't been here in how many years?
Yeah, he literally just closes the door, turns around, and walks like 3 feet, and the box is just right there.
There it is.
Says Finkel right on the box.
It says Finkel. That's
when I just gave,
and it's open.
Yeah, and it's open too. Like somebody actually going through it.
I guess Einhorn was there recently. Going through old things,
or like adding some stuff to the collection. But like when I just gave credit to the writing with like, he was added to midway through the season. This I have to make it a wash, because you could have had Ace maybe look around just a little bit. Like, come on now, it doesn't take that much. It doesn't take adding, because this isn't a long movie at all. You could have added another 30 seconds to a minute of him searching around. Make it a little difficult.
Yeah, I think one of my favorite scenes is after Roger Podacter. So Podacter was a employee of the Miami Dolphins, as was Courtney Cox's character Melissa, and they are under the gun to find Snowflake before the Super Bowl. Otherwise, they're on their ass. They don't have a job, and so Roger Podacter ends up getting murdered by who we later learn is Finkel or Einhorn. Mm-hmm. And that scene where Ace goes up there and he, they kind of talk shit to him because they don't respect him. Mm-hmm. He's like, I think somebody flushed a turtle. But like when he actually runs down, like, somebody else was in here. This was not a suicide the way that the cops were trying to portray it. And when he breaks the whole scene down and he's just like, can you feel that?
This is double pane soundproof glass. There's no way that neighbor could have heard Podacter scream on the way down with that door shut. The scream she heard came from inside this apartment before he was thrown over the balcony, and the murderer closed the door before he left. Yes! Yes! Oh, yeah! Can you feel that, buddy? Huh? 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 I have exorcised the demons. This house is clear. Losers? Get him out of here! Losers! Let's go, Ace.
That the dialogue in that, the delivery of that was so fucking funny. Mm-hmm. And Einhorn's like, get him out of here! All the scenes where he goes to the actual police office, where he's like bending over, talking out of his ass, which I know sounds crazy, to fucking Tone Loc's character Rock at the police station. Mm-hmm. It's so ridiculous. Bro,
that's one thing.
Do you have a breath mint?
I guess like when you brought up that question earlier that didn't hit, that's one thing where I remember that being so big back in the day, like mm-hmm. everybody doing that shit, talking out of their ass, literally. And when I saw that, it definitely brought up some old memories. But it was more of the old memories that made me laugh more than like the talking out of the ass itself. Where I was oh yeah, I remember when people used to do that. I guess it's kind of like hearing maybe when people used to do like the wise up shit.
Oh yeah,
It's kind of like, oh yeah, I remember that. But if somebody did that like in a comedy today, I'll be like, that's a little bit played out.
Speaking of those commercials, I love those Was That commercials, but I also really the one where it's the white dudes, like the fucking Wall Street guys, like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Yo, tell me that shit didn't crack you up. You remember that commercial?
It's still pretty good.
That shit was wild. And then it shows the brothers watching this on the couch. They look at each other confused, like, this ain't it.
Man, since we're talking about Ace Ventura and Jim Carrey. Mm-hmm. Man, think about Cable Guy being underrated, and you obviously mentioned Liar Liar and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Man, another comedy I think is underrated of his. Don't want to get too far into the weeds on a different movie, but
Meet Myself and Irene.
Man, I fucking
I
love
already
that.
know, bro. Yo, it is such a good movie,
dude. That movie doesn't get talked about enough as like a Jim Carrey great.
Yo. When they go shopping, or when he goes shopping, and all he gets is like fucking sex toys and dildos, like, bruh. What?
Oh my!
And then she said, "What was Hank here? Wasn't enough for you?" He's like, "Those weren't for me." And he was like, "Oh my god!
Oh my god!
Oh man, that movie is very good, very underrated. It's better than Ace Ventura. I think it is.
I think it is.
And I fuck with this movie, but yeah,
man. Thinking about a quick little, if you think about Jim Carrey's three-piece, Ace Ventura, Mask, Dumb and Dumber. Mm-hmm. Put up against Adam Sandler, another comedy great. His three-piece.
What's his three-piece?
Happy Gilmore,
Waterboy for me.
Waterboy, and Billy Madison. Whose three are you taking?
The best three of of Jim Carrey's being what? One more time.
Dumb and Dumber. The Mask.
Are we only talking about comedies, or are we talking about just?
Well, I wouldn't say
because I put Uncut Gems actually up there for Adam Sandler.
I'm not saying they're necessarily their best movies.
Yeah.
But like when you would think of just say like The Triangle, or just like maybe like even the more movies that he's more well known for. Everybody always talks about those three movies: Billy Madison, Happy Gilmore, and Waterboy.
Yeah.
And then maybe and I know just with Jim Carrey, obviously those three movies came out in 1 year. And so that catapulted him. Ventura. And granted, you could put, I said Liar Liar maybe a part of that three, but I would say Ace, Mask, and Dumb and Dumber as maybe his little triangle.
Mask, Dumb and Dumber. I mean, I guess I probably lean more towards Carrey just because I have more memories tied to those movies. Mm-hmm. I grew up watching him even in Living Color.
Yeah.
So like I was always a fan, whereas I didn't really watch a lot of SNL back then, and that's where Sandler kind of got his start. So I mean, I guess I lean more for nostalgia reasons towards Jim Carrey.
Mm-hmm. Man, quick.
But I do like. I mean, like I said, I fucked with The Waterboy. That was one of my favorite movies as a kid. That was so good. I remember seeing that in the theater.
Honestly, yeah. Like I used to.
Uncut Gems was another great movie of his. He definitely showed his range. They both have range. I will also give them credit for that.
Yeah. Well, like honestly, you could say that with a few different comedians when they go more serious. Obviously, one of the more well-known is Robin Williams.
Oh yeah,
a guy that is known for comedy, but then when he does a more serious role, he's in his bag on that. And God, have you seen 1 Hour Photo with Robin Williams? He plays.
I've heard that's really good though.
Creepy fucking dude. He's like one of those dudes at like a Walgreens that does like the photos for you and everything like that. Mm-hmm. It's definitely an underrated movie. But back to Ace Ventura. I mean, I don't really have too much to add to it besides it is a comedy classic. Mm-hmm. There are some funny scenes. Like throughout the whole movie, it's not long. It's just an hour and a half. It's pretty enjoyable. I think anybody's going to find some nice comedy moments, funny moments into this movie.
Yeah.
But there are some things that hold it back from being one of my favorites.
And I think for me, maybe something that speaks in favor of this movie is that when I think about 90s comedies, this comes to mind. This franchise comes to mind. Mm-hmm. And that's, I mean, again, it's not his best movie of the ones we've been talking about, but I do think that says something about the quality of this movie, is that it does stand out, at least in my mind, as one of the one of the better comedy franchises.
And honestly, I think just off the top of my head, I want to say I think I might like the second one better.
I think I do too, but
Just
I haven't
'cause-
seen. Here's the thing: I feel like I got to re-see it.
Yeah, because
to
I mean, I
solidify
just
that.
know it's a small scene, but the slinky scene makes me crack up.
Everyone loves the slinky.
The rhino scene that
Oh
makes
my
me crack
God!
up. When
It's the Monopoly guy.
when he's when he's running through the jungle and he's getting shot with the little darts and stuff.
Yeah.
That shit makes me crack up.
Guano.
So,
When he realizes.
Maybe those scenes won't hold up as well if I rewatch it. But
Mm-hmm.
just off the top of my head, I think I enjoy the second one a little bit more than the first one.
Yeah.
But I don't want to drift into to scores. But do you have any other negatives that like kind of stand out for this movie, or maybe even some highlights that you want to talk
No,
about?
I mean I spoke to some of the highlights for sure. I thought the ending fight scene was pretty funny when Finkel was giving him the business.
He's like, Ace, you're losing to a girl or
like,
something.
"You
He's
don't understand."
You don't understand.
Yeah, she was fucking him up.
Having a little trouble with the lady, Ace?
You don't understand. She's
Get him, Lois! Get him!
Oh man.
That I thought the fight scene was pretty fun. Talked about the montage.
What is your number one scene then out of the movie? You would say
My number
your favorite,
one.
your funniest scene, your favorite scene.
I think my favorite scene might be the one in the where they're on the balcony with the cops when he breaks it down.
Yeah,
That's one of my favorites.
especially when he's like sliding the door back and forth.
Yeah, all that because he combines like the physical humor that I think his physical like aspect as a comedian, but it's also like really funny delivered lines too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's probably my scene. What about you?
I think the ending for me is my favorite scene. Obviously, I like his line when he talks about Snowflake with the shark and everything. But when he's just undressing her and he's just coming up short every time, and it's like, boy, this is looking a little awkward. And then you sort of shows the hemorrhoids. It's obviously not hemorrhoids.
It's a tough.
And seeing everybody's over the top reaction. The ending was and then. She still tries to make a little run at him, like "Die, pet dick," or whatever the fuck she said.
Hi, animal boy. Or
And
something
then
like
and then he's like, "Quick decision." Then gives her a little WWE suplex into the water.
That's why Roger Podacter is dead. He found Captain Winky. Good night, everybody. You've been a wonderful audience. I'll be here all week. Be sure to tip your waitress. Die, animal boy! Quick decision. Hey, loser!
I love. It's also funny at the end.
Uh-oh. Got him again.
It's also really funny at the end when when Ace is driving Dan Marino to the Super Bowl, and their heads are outside the window.
Hey! Yeah, Dan? You have any more of that gum? That's none of your damn business, and I'll thank you to stay out of my personal affairs. You're a weird guy, Ace. Weird guy.
A lot of funny. Another funny scene actually when I think about is when Ace is frustrated because he doesn't really have a good lead on the case. This is before he sees the picture with Finkel on the team photo.
Him and the monkey.
Is where when he and Melissa are going back and forth.
We feed your dog.
Dog food. Why?
He is miserable.
Oh, what are you talking about?
He's just very unhappy. I feel sorry for him. Bad diet, isolated environment. It's amazing he's still alive.
You know what? You're just mad because your stupid little pebble theory didn't work out, and you don't know how to express your anger.
Yeah, and you're ugly.
You know what? I'm not even going to talk to you. Would you please leave?
Why? So you can beat him? Fatty?
You're unbelievable. You know what? Hiring you was the biggest mistake I ever made.
Well, why don't you cry about it? Saddlebags?
That shit did make me kind of bust up like real quick. Why? So you can beat him, fatty? And then he walks up and he's like, yeah, she's not that bad. She's all right.
He's like, why don't you cry about it? Saddlebags. Like, there's just some really funny dialogue in this movie. But yeah. With that said, I mean, let's want to pivot to.
Yeah, we can dive into the
score?
scores.
What you got?
You know, like I said, rewatching it, I definitely had a little smile on my face, but it just didn't hit as hard as I thought it would, or as I remembered it would. And as far as Jim Carrey movies, it's definitely on like the lower tier. If I was making a top 10, I'm not quite sure if it would make a top 10 Jim Carrey. If it did, it'd be in the 6 to 10 range. With that being said, I am going with a solid 3.0 even. Enjoyable comedy, put Jim Carrey on the map. Definitely worth a watch, especially if you're into Jim Carrey comedies, especially or 90s comedy as well. But 3 is where I land. How about you, sir?
Man, this is another week we are aligned, man.
God damn, we do not talk about these scores too before we.
No, we definitely don't.
Heads up.
We definitely don't. Sometimes I'll like fuck with him. I'll be like, "Yo, FYI, it's gonna be a high score," you know.
Yeah.
But like, we don't talk about our scores. We really don't talk about the movies much at all, just so we can save most of it for our on mic conversation. But yeah, man, I'm giving it a 3 as well. For the reasons we said, I think it's still funny. It does still hit some notes, but it's one of those things where also like the nostalgia outweighs the actual quality of the movie.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I stand with it, man.
If you have nostalgia to it, you're gonna still go back to it, and I think still have fond memories of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If you've never seen this movie before, I don't know. Like, I think it could be a little dicey.
Yeah.
As far as, because like I said, the comedy is a bit outdated, like the talking out of your ass type of stuff.
I mean, yeah, and if you're not familiar with Jim Carrey and his acting style, especially during that time, you're not. I mean, it might just miss for you.
If you're not a Jim Carrey comedy fan, then this
ain't
movie
it.
will not win you over at all.
No, no.
I think
try his dramas.
Yeah, he's definitely a good drama actor. But if you're not a fan of his on the comedy side, this will not sway you in any way.
For sure. Well, those are our scores. Thank you all for joining us this week. We're trying to decide what we're going to release next after this. We got a few different directions, maybe sci-fi, maybe horror, maybe sports drama. But
make sure you drop a comment.
Yeah.
If you do have a movie in mind as well, make sure you put the comment down below. We do definitely read those. And that's it.
Thanks, folks. Peace.
Peace.